The Colts just look a little bit rejuvenated, but they still have a lot to prove. I just feel like the Eagles tank are going to be way too much for the Colts here in this spot. The Eagles are laying a little less than a touchdown, 6.5 points.
This is one of those situations where usually you say, okay, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're one of the better teams in the league. They lose a game to a divisional rival on Monday Night Football. This is the perfect bounce back spot to where they kind of show that they're one of the better teams in the league. I remember like kind of speaking about that narrative a lot on prior shows.
Mm-hmm.
And with the parity in the NFL, it really hasn't panned out that way. I would expect the Eagles to come out here and dominate this game, given that they've played ahead most of the season when they match up against teams, and then they're able to kind of hold on at the very end. But I'm not confident that that's going to happen again this week. I think one thing that the Washington Commanders showed us is that you can run the ball on this Eagles team, especially like if Davis isn't in. I'm not sure what his status is going to be. That's going to be huge because if
Mm-hmm.
he's out again, and then you have Jonathan Taylor who's healthy now, and we saw what he did last week. So if he's healthy and they don't have their big studs in the middle of that Eagles defense, then I can see a path to limiting Matt Ryan's attempts and just running the ball down their throat with Jonathan Taylor and keeping this game close. So I think that's one thing we need to do. Just wait and see what the injury report says. I see a path for the Colts, even though everything tells me that the Eagles should be able to bounce back and just have their way with the Indianapolis team that went out and won a game that no one expected them to win against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then they end up running into a brick wall when they face the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, 147 yards on 22 carries. Incredible last week. Jared, I look at the total. It's set at 44.5. I feel like it could maybe be a good play here, right? It's hit in 5 of Philly's last 6 games. Also, 6 of the last 7 Eagles-Colts matchups. And I feel like the Eagles have the third best offense in the NFL right now, but the Colts, they have something cooking, especially if they use a guy like Jonathan Taylor like they did last week.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Jonathan Taylor last week, and the Raiders have a pretty good run defense. I think the key with last week, that game's completely different against the Raiders with Sam Ellinger. And
Yeah.
we thought Matt Ryan was, in purgatory in some alternate dimension. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't think he had any chance of playing. And
I thought
I
he was
think
going to be the offensive coordinator.
he was the
I
offensive
thought.
coordinator. He was the coordinator of
Yeah.
me losing
Yeah.
that under because all of a sudden he's chucking it all over the field and running it. He ripped off a 40-yard run against the Raiders
Right,
on
Matt
Sunday.
Ryan.
I mean, Matt Ryan, like I don't know how. Again, and I think you use the word rejuvenated. I think that's a good word to use. And the question going into the week for the Colts was, how was the locker room going to congeal around Jeff Saturday? Were they going to rally around him, or was it going to be this divide between players that didn't want him in the lineup or as the head coach and players that did? I still am not 100% sure the entire organization, especially the coaching staff like Gus Bradley and those other,
Mm-hmm.
veteran coaches on the staff, are fully buying in. But the players certainly seem to buy in. And if Jonathan Taylor's buying in and the offensive line is buying in, I don't see why they can't have success against the Eagles, who are, again, you said it, short week, coming off a game where their defense was on the field for 40 minutes. They did sign Linval
40.
Joseph this week. 40 minutes. 40. I'm a man. I'm 40. 40 minutes. Again, short week for them too. So we'll see how they respond from this. And listen, this is a Colts team, and I know the game was really fluky and weird, but they beat the Chiefs in their building earlier this year. And I would put the
Yeah.
Chiefs offense ahead of the Eagles offense, especially with Dallas Goedert going to IR. He was one of their top pass catchers. And A.J. Brown's
Yeah.
looked a little gimpy over the last couple weeks. We know he's had these ups and downs with injuries over the course of his career as well. So if you take A.J. Brown less than 100%, you remove Dallas Goedert, you take a defensive line that's susceptible to the run, you put him on the road on a short week after being on the field for 40 minutes against an offense that's starting to run the ball really well, I could see why this number was bet down from 8 to 7 and now 6.5. And I wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
surprised if we continue to see movement towards the Colts throughout the week.